thought I'd make this video, talk about a few things. It's just kind of, I took a nap earlier, and I was going through because I thought about all these postings that I've been making for so many years, and if it's actually even caught any of the attention of someone that is actually continuing to listen to me, like any top celebrities or very understanding heterosexual community individuals, primarily only heterosexual females, because they're going to understand the scope way better than anybody else because of what's happening. And I was thinking, I remember, I'm 42 years old now, and the places that I've traveled and the places that I've walked being homeless is so staggeringly astonishing, and I was posting these videos whenever I had the chance, and I eventually, I deleted all my videos and Facebook for a while to sort of just get away from any type of public attention. Maybe things would calm down, I could start my life over, and live with some sort of dignity instead of just being persecuted and spit on. And I don't even know, because I just recently I watched I just come across a Mariah Carey's Facebook page or Instagram, and 3 days ago she posted a picture of her holding a phone, and 3 days ago I posted a picture of all my phone information. And the reason I did that, I'm not saying it could have been a coincidence, and not to say that anybody's actually doing anything about it, even though they know about it, because there's so many problems all around the world. There's so many people that are trying to reach out to these people and try to steal money and haggle money and whatnot. And if anybody really even cared or cares enough that my freedom is important and it's more valued than the disposal of someone's sick intentions. And I wonder how many of these people saw, if anyone actually saved the videos or saved the pictures that I took, other than me having an Amazon photo library bank where I just recently, over the several years, started to put them in a savings file. And I wonder if anyone ever saw, or how many of these people remember, because there's so many things that go on in life, right? Because everyone makes their own lives, people do their own things, and life moves on, people end up passing away, people and whatnot. And so, in my opinion, it almost kind of seems a lot of times it does get worse, it doesn't get better. And over a time that time went on, it only ever got worse, because there was so much hatred against me and so much persecution that it just snowballs. Like a group of people start telling everyone he's the enemy, and then they tell their friends and homosexuals and transgenders he's the enemy, and it just keeps going. And it snowballs where I was nearly digging in trash cans for food and thinking that that's what I was going to have to be forced to resort to, because you had police officers that were involved, you had so much threatening things that were happening that there was not going to be an outlet at all. And people don't even understand what they didn't catch on camera. When I was in Alaska, one of the things that I remember so well in Alaska is I remember the freezing temperatures, and I remember having to walk with a backpack on that weighs an extra 20 pounds, okay, and I have sweats on, I have shorts on, I have boxers, sweats on, some long sleeves warmers, and then I had these coat pants, and it's I think it was -3 degrees or something like that, or it was in a single digit temperatures. and it was so cold, and I was eating at Denny's at like 12 o'clock in the morning. I had no money. I had like $20 in my pocket. I didn't know how I was going to get my next meal. And I had already spent all the days in the shelter, and it was extremely unsafe for me to even be there. And I'm walking like an hour and a half just to get to one location. Icy roads, sidewalks, no one around. And I'd always have to take this trail because it was like the fastest, only way I can get there. And listening to music so that I could kind of keep my mind, in a positive outlook and more adventurous, I guess you could say. And I mean, like, at times being so tired that I would like go to the corner of a wall and sleep there for like an hour and a half and just rest because I was so tired because I wasn't getting any sleep. At that point, the college campus would only open at certain hours of the day, and I had to basically figure out the timing and everything because I couldn't find a place to sleep because I would go to a park, then somebody would come charge at me wanting to fight. People would come. I'd be sleeping in a park, I recall, and people would just come by me and throw food or spit at me. And for no reason. This was a wilderness, okay, in Anchorage, Alaska, where these trails usually don't have a lot of people. They're trails, and it's like a park, but there's all these trails, and it's very heavily wooded. You even come across mooses, and it's so wild to experience that alone, not knowing that, how am I even going to get out of this city, where I'm going to get my next meal. Is anyone listening to anything I have to say about these electronic devices for my freedom? And I'm 34, 33 years old, 33 to 34 years old, before I get on disability. From the age of about 30 years old to 29 is when I started being homeless, and all the way up to 35, so about a little over 5 years. They would not allow me to get disability. Nobody would hire me. In fact, I only got to work, I think it was only one company. No, it was a couple of companies, but they didn't last more than maybe 2 days. And one of the companies, and it was so awful because I went to a temp service, and when I went there and they hired me, they directly sent me to like a chemical factory that makes nothing but adhesive glue, which is one of the causes of my plastic anemia. And it's very dangerous because you're working with, and they intentionally send me to a company where I'm working with the chemicals are so strong that I literally had to tell them, I was like, it's not safe for me to be here. I'm going to, if you thought cigarettes or weed or any of that stuff was bad, this stuff is going to kill me. And they would do this on purpose. They would do this to me on purpose. I had no money and couldn't get on disability. It was just drenchingly awful. But anyway, I remember walking to these freezing temperatures, thinking that, okay, this is not going to last for 5 years. This is not going to last a few more years. Somebody or something is going to turn up. And it's going to be positive, and these electronic devices are going to stop. Somebody's going to also, most of all, someone's going to explain why they're doing this to me. And the police department isn't, everybody knows in the history books, police officers don't have to help you to even give you a glass of water if they don't want to. And if they don't like you, they'll find reasons to throw you in jail or in a mental hospital, and you're totally innocent. And I've had that several times, many times that happened to me. And people that I've met, I remember meeting this girl from London, Leanne, and I met her. The first time I met her was when I saw her in Anchorage, Alaska, and I was placed in a mental hospital because there was some dilemma that happened at a mall where I got kicked out of the mall and the police officer threw me against the wall, and he wasn't even a police officer, he was a security guard. And then he teamed up with a real police officer and they just started screaming at me and yelling like, "Oh, shut your mouth," and all this, and they were treating me like a war criminal or some shit. And I was nervous. I was like, well, what the heck? I was like, I'm telling you, they're tapping my phone. I'm having these people do this shit. And basically not allow me to defend myself in any manifestation, even to get away from an environment. And I was going to like a dentist visit. And this is a true story. I was going for a dentist visit, you know, not trying to bother anybody. And anyway, I met her in a mental hospital, and she's not mentally ill. And some of the people, I saw a Buddhist, a guy that was like a full-blown monk Buddhist in his Buddhist outfit, played basketball with him, went out, and this was like a luxury mental hospital. When we got there, like, I was playing volleyball also with Leanne, and she told me, we talked, and I recall, I got her email address, and then, like, I don't know what happened where I tried emailing her, and I don't think I got one of the letters wrong or something like that, and I must have wrote it wrong or something like that. And I know she gave it to me for real. She did, and I don't know what I couldn't remember what the situation was, but anyway, and we were talking, we were holding hands. And it was weird. You can't really do that kind of stuff in a mental hospital. And anyway, we were like just sitting next to together and talking and stuff. And I'm not trying to like tell her how crazy this world is and what they've been doing. And I never saw her again. And I'm like 33, 34 years old. Then when I turned 35, I went to London and I saw Leanne at the Core Bar in London right after the DMC competition. It was like the day or two after it, and we went on a date, and I couldn't believe that I couldn't remember. She looked so familiar, and I was like, "You look exactly like someone." Why can't I remember? Because there's so many people and there's so many things that are going on that sometimes it becomes even more difficult for me to remember who I come across a lot of times, and it's because I'm always trying to keep myself safe. And be very watchful of my environment as to stay safe, as opposed to really pay attention and listen to people sometimes. And I listened to her and everything, but we went on a date and everything, and I never saw her again. And I contacted her on Facebook a couple times, and she doesn't use social boards. And it was so weird that this person I met in Alaska, then I meet in London, and that was pretty much like the last of it. And, you know, I think about all these trails and places I'm going and walking, and people would follow me into the wooded areas, and, you know, where I had nothing. I'd get like a couple sandwiches at a gas station and a drink, and I always try to focus on something that's the healthiest that I could get in those environments, and what little money I had, to sit down quietly and try to enjoy a meal, you know, enjoy a meal in peace. And it was nearly impossible to do. They would run in, you know, I would be crossing the streets, and cars would try to hit me with their cars repeatedly. And it was so terrifying to experience that and not have enough of that on camera, because a lot of this, dozens and hundreds of videos I was constantly posting on Facebook, and on Instagram. I pull out my camera, look, that car was just trying to hit me, and look, I'm just trying to go to a cafe. It was unbelievably, and so much hate. You know, when I went to Denver, when I come across like these pedophiles, and some of the most craziest things that, you know, there was, more than anything, it was so terrifying, because it was when you feel the sense that these police officers know they're homosexuals. They know that I know I'm on their bad list. That they're not there to help me. They're there to persecute me and want to throw me in jail because this is the righteousness of the gay movement of what they want to do to me. This is a straight guy. We need to put him down. We need to let him know who has bigger balls and who's bigger, tougher. And that's what the mindset was. So even when I would ever exchange words with any of them, at a park, anywhere, the first things they would always say to me was always to brush away anything I had to say and just, you're crazy. You're just crazy. Well, you're just crazy. And then they just go about their business. You know, there were times that I was, in Alaska, they had these mosquitoes that are like the size of like small birds. I'm not kidding. And, I'd be sleeping in this park covered from head to toe completely. Even a beanie. I put a hoodie on, and I had to put a hat on to keep the warmth on my head. Because you lose the majority of heat on the top of your head, so that you kind of try to stay warm. And I had to keep my fingers, and I had freezing temperature gloves, especially for the freezing temperatures. And I'd have 2-3 pairs of socks on my shoes, and I had to change the socks repeatedly to take care of hygiene. I'd try to find a park, a recreation center, everywhere I went, to take a shower maybe once a week when I could, if that. There were times where I'd go a whole month and not being able to take one shower, if not more, because of the environment that I was in, and no money, no access to the necessities that I needed. Everything was all about safety, because everywhere I went, the first thing I'm always thinking of, who wants to attack me, who wants to say nasty words to me to make this, they think this is a drama TV show, and they just want to release themselves of frustration as me as a punching bag, just like a worthless carcass that you don't give a shit. And it was just the hate that I experienced on such a frequent basis, on such an innocent level, was so staggering to experience. I'm sleeping underneath the bridge in like Castle Rocks. I'm sleeping I'm sleeping behind a building, and living in a shelter for a couple weeks in Salvation Army, and Colorado Springs. I have no money. I try to go to the gas stations to use a restroom, and they won't let you use a restroom. They have the restrooms locked. And they do this to me on purpose. And I have to go look for a restroom to go use a restroom, and they're pressing this electronic devices, forcing me to use a restroom. And it was the idea that anywhere I go, that somebody has the ability to simply just turn on an electronic device and then shit yourself, and I have no control. So they use in any engagement of any conversation, knowing that every time I have a phone around me or any electronic device, that whether it's been tampered, hacked into, or the environment at a cafe, at a mall, at a park, someone has placed a hidden recording device so they can just listen to me live. And they would play some of the most sickest psychological things you could ever imagine, and even to this very day. And and I've been just I wonder if whoever was watching my videos or pictures that was, had to been, obviously Leanne. It takes a lot of effort and a lot of love from someone that kind to travel, to come from London, to be in Alaska, and genuinely care about my life. And she was watching what these homosexuals were doing, and she caught them. And I promise to God, she saw them in this riot against me, and I'm not kidding. And this is what they were doing, and it was one of the most craziest things to experience. I'm going to all these places, and when I was in Seattle, Washington, and I'm 32 years old, and you know, I'm, you know, sleeping in the shores near the water. You know, I'm sleeping in these alleys, and you know how dirty it is, and it smells, and you know, the first thing I wake up in the morning, you know, it's like 5 o'clock in the morning when the sun comes up. There's people coming in and out. They know exactly where I am, my GPS location. They know I'm the enemy. They'll drive their motorcycles right by me. They'll come by and spit. They'll throw food. They know exactly where I'm going to go before I get to that destination, like where I know where I'm going to be sleeping for the night, and they'll throw feces. I've had people use feces as a weapon an uncontrollably amount of times that they use. They'll grab dog feces and they'll smear it in a location where they don't want me sleeping, just so that it just and it's very hard when you're trying to find a place to sleep and you're homeless and don't have anything and no thing going for you, and someone is tracking me down, got a GPS tracking, and does that to me. And then when I get to that location, they'll send 2 or 3 people or some bodybuilder or something just to then intimidate me, to let me know we can harm you and do anything to you and no one's ever going to stop us. And this is to show you how worthless your life ever was to this fucking world. We can get rid of your worthless life, throw you in a casket, and I'm going to keep laughing, ha ha ha. And that was the constant interpretation. And it wasn't because I'm sitting there trying to have a bad outlook in life. They were wanting to start shit. They were looking for a punching bag, and they just made me that punching bag. And the smallest things, going to a gas station I had $25 to last me a week, and I had to eat lunch at the shelter because I have no money. Otherwise, I am digging in a trash can. And just $3 for like a flavored water, or like a Powerade or something, for electrolytes, becomes so challenging because the cash register, they start running in there and they know who I am, start shouting out things and whispering shit that's very personal. And it was so vile. It's hard. I have never heard of anyone in the United States that has ever been homeless on the streets for as long as I was and put into public attention with no access to family, money, or jobs, nothing other than like maybe 1 day here, 2 days here, get on unemployment, get $75 every 2 weeks, and everyone attacking you and trying to survive, because the emotional abuse that you're going to experience is beyond anything that what you think of human beings. That you realize how many people really don't believe in God, how many people really don't believe in a higher power, like how many people really believe that when we die as human beings, there's no repercussions for anything that we've ever done in this life that's ever going to happen. You don't have to worry about it. You're getting a free one-way ticket to heaven or the spirit world, whatever you want to call it. And nothing's going to happen. And maybe there were some of them were atheists and just nothing was going to happen. They believed nothing was going to happen to them. A number of that was so frightening, because you come across people that you think you're going to get hope from. Like somebody's going to be like, I know they're doing this fucked up shit, man. Like, I know, fuck them. Or, I never got that shit. Maybe 1 out of 1,000 people would ever do that. And they would look at you like scum, like worthless trash, like, and then start laughing, like the most despicable shit you can imagine. Like when your physical body is being abused that intensely, and you're tired, not getting sleep, you can't eat well, and you watch people driving their Porsches and Mercedes and all these fancy cars, and they roll down their window to throw shit out the window, and they roll down the window like with their friend or whatever, their transgender, their gay partner, and you're like, do that shit to me. And I'm walking an hour and a half with my backpack on, cold weather. In Seattle, Washington, it rains a lot, so it's real moist. You know, you have this soggy feeling all over your body of the moisture. And you experience that on such a frequent basis. It was because the best thing that anyone could have done is not to have done nothing at all. Just, you know, that's what I do. Like, I may not give somebody money, but I'm not going to go there and make their life a living hell. You know, I'm not going to taunt them about whatever maybe personal information I know. I'm just not going to do that. At least I leave you on your way to in the world that we live in, but in that kind of peace. They wouldn't do that. And this was like gangs of them. There would be some, in Seattle, Washington, there would be like 4 or 5 of them. Young, 25-year-olds with their all gay pod. And it was just, they would tell me shit that you couldn't do anything other than just to ignore the existence of other people and just focus on yourself. Because it'd be 5 o'clock in the morning, I have to get up at the shelter, and all this rucking noise, you don't even get enough sleep, people smell all over the place. I go straight to the shores, to try to chill for about an hour before the McDonald's opens up at like 6 or 7 in the morning, and somebody would be there waiting for me, just to take a shot at me, just to then tell me something like, yeah, that's what you get. You're like, yeah, gay power. And they would shout out this shit, and it was so, but I've never heard of anything like that. I mean, the closest situation that I can think of is like O.J. Simpson, or who's along some of those people in the celebrity world, but they have money. They have money and they have family. I absolutely didn't have anything. I wasn't talking to my mother. I didn't know my mother was a triplet. I didn't know Julian was a twin. I didn't know Marco was a twin, which are my siblings. And I think I called my mother maybe once. Oh, you're alive? And it's not even my mother I'm speaking to. It's my fucking mother's, it's my fucking aunt, my aunts. My fucking, not even, they didn't even grow up with me. They didn't know anything about my life. They're just pretending to be my mother and playing me horseshit stupid the entire fucking time. And I didn't know my mother was sick. I didn't know any of these things. Whoever paid my mother off and whoever did this with my mother completely took and stole everything. Like, it is unbelievable of the disposal of human bodies, that what they did to my mother and my father, Raymond Palomo, who raised me, and my dead sister. It was throwing a fucking dead body in a garbage can, and we're going to be gay community, and we're going to make up stories, and we're going to tell you how this is how the community goes, and this is what they did. And nobody cared to understand what the cause of these deaths were. This little girl that was a haunting image. I didn't even know she was my sister. And people would come and tell me shit. Like, start persecuting me like I knew it and I was the one that didn't care. And they were the ones that were loving and Jesus and all this, and it was bullshit. And it was almost just as bad in the church as well. Because then when you would go inside the churches, I felt somebody just shoot me with an electronic device just now. The churches would be just as bad. Man, I would be in these churches, and there was all homeless people. There was a lot of homeless people in Seattle, Washington. It was like the bread of life. And they would be waiting in line. I mean, I'm telling you that these homeless people they had less ambitions to do anything for the world when they were around me than like a wandering stray cat. Okay? They would just want to see who they wanted to bother and harm and parasitically. Like, they weren't looking for jobs. They liked living on the streets, and they just they're parasitical. They're very parasitical, and they're very mentally wanting to take it. And keep in mind, every one of these shelters, I was always the youngest person there by like 10 years. Every person I came across was older than 40 years old. I'm gonna say I might get lucky to come across somebody who was in their early 40s. Everyone was over 45 years old. Everyone, and there was 50s. There were everybody's, and I'd come across people that, like, when I was in Anchorage, Alaska, and I left Anchorage, Alaska, and I was in Seattle, Washington. You know, I come across a guy that I met at a homeless shelter in Alaska. I'm like, I just flew 1,500 miles, and the same guy I saw at the shelter is just sitting right there. Like, is this guy fucking following me? You know, like, I'm begging on Craigslist the entire time. You know, can you please help me find a place? And I'm literally posting on Craigslist, asking people, I have $25, can I get a couple days of sleep? If someone's kind enough, maybe we'll sleep, you know, right next to your dog, next to the door, you know, where at least I have a shelter and some air conditioning and maybe just one shower. You know, I get up early in the morning just so that I have some sort of roof over my head that's an actual shelter other than living in a shelter. And I got, I think, maybe one response, and when I get there, it was like a sexual predator wanted me to sleep on their fucking bed and pretending that they were my mother, and it was some transgender that is living alone in a hospital, living alone in an apartment, and then like they bring in like two chihuahuas that are all bickering at each other, all crazy, like, and they're psychologically just training me, like mentally, and I'm like 31, 32 years old. This person is like a 45-year-old who looks like they have no life in themselves to do anything productive or any kind of career. They just parasitically want to suck the fucking life out of you. Like, for you to not have a life. And they want to live and they carry that way to the end of life. They don't care. It is, you know, I watch all these cars, like, all these expensive, you know, I've watched these people driving all these expensive cars, and the disgusting behavior that I came across these people was just unimaginable. It was, you know, when I was in Anchorage, Alaska, when I was at the Alaska University, because I would always go there because I would fall asleep in the back corner of the library, where I could just hide there and get at least 4 or 5 hours of rest, you know, do my maintenance, you know, trim my nails, wash my hands, you know, do any paperwork, call, you know, food stamp offices. And I saw Diana, Mickey Riviera's mother, who was a transgender, who was the one that slapped my mother many years ago. And her husband is the one that raped my brother many years ago when he was a kid. And out of nowhere, like, I'm just sitting on, I have a picture of it where I'm sitting down. And I'm sitting down at this university, and I'm just there, just like in existence, like trying to get away from the cold, because the cold outside is freezing, okay? I don't even have these like thick coats on. I have like a bunch of sweaters on to try to keep myself warm. And I'm just sitting there, and all of a sudden I just see Diana walking. I'm like, damn, that looks exactly like that. Because I hadn't seen Diana in like probably 15 to 20 years. She looked a little bit different, but I'm like, damn, that looks exactly like Diana. And I remember her just kind of sniffling her nose and then kind of stopping halfway and then turning away. And I'm just sitting there like, what the fuck is going on? And I wait maybe a few minutes after she disappears out of sight down the hall, and I stand up and I start walking down the hall like, why does that look like Diana? And I'm calling, keep in mind, I call the crisis line 3 or 4 times a day because I have no communication with human beings. I don't know who I'm talking to. These people, how much are they recording me, filing me away with this information? Many of them, I have come across a lot of phone calls, and I'm not kidding, on the crisis lines, people telling me to commit suicide. I'm like, insinuating that shit. And I have no money. Like, down to, they know exactly to the nickel that I have in my pocket for what I'm going to spend on my next meal. And so if they knew I only had $15 until the next 2 days, And I'm like, okay, I think I'm gonna go buy me a sandwich and a vitamin V8 drink for $7. I would leave and thinking nobody heard me, or I said that on the crisis line. I'd go down, way down the hall in this university, and someone would throw a sandwich, and someone would throw a V8 splash empty drink on the fucking floor. And then I'm like, I know somebody's playing a mental fucking game with me, but I ignore it. And as I walk past it, I hear somebody, like a couple of people start doing, and start coughing and sneezing. And I'm thinking, great, they're going to spit in my food. They're going to throw germs in it when I go to the gas station. And there's only one gas station nearby. So they know I'm going to go to that gas station. I mean, it was like that. And it was just unbelievable. I wonder how much of what people were noticing in me traveling that they actually saw. Like when I'm in Seattle, Washington, and I take a bus, I take a train down into like 12 o'clock in the middle of the night. There's like 1 o'clock, and this is like one of the most dangerous territories that I think I've been in. And there's like 8 black guys. They look like rapists, prison inmates. There's no cops. This looked like the perfect habitat that if you wanted to kill somebody, you could throw them on the railroad tracks. Like there was a bunch of railroad tracks, and it was real ghetto. It looked like there was enough cameras that even if you got hurt and there was someone to call, the police wouldn't have accessible to the area to even come and help you. Even, let alone my mental state, and what these police officers are only doing is that we're here to hurt you, and we're here to incarcerate you. We're here to put you, and we're going to lie to you. And so you get into this whole mental tug of war you get into this whole mental tug of war, because that's not what they do. You know how the fucking pedophile that your fucking, second cousin, always acts really fucking nice, but he's fucking raping your sister, or he's raping your fucking brother, and never says any fucking thing, but he's real fucking nice. Oh, that's exactly what the police officers were behaving like. Oh yeah, and that was bullshit. They never spoke in any respectable forms in any way. I'd get a job, I'd start working as like a mail boy, and I'd like in Seattle, Washington, I only got to work there 3 days, and I got to work at my own desk. And when I'm working there, they immediately cause havoc within 3 days to fire me and throw me into the streets. And they literally like you get the police officers and shit, and I'm like, dude, the respectful shit doesn't work. Like it is so bizarre. Not just bizarre, it's so hateful. It's hard to go into details even more about it. Like another story, I'm in Seattle, Washington. They put me in a mental hospital, one of the filthiest mental hospitals I've ever been in. Police officers took me there for some dumb shit reason. Like I go there because I'm sick. They tell me they're going to give me some medicine, and I got like the flu. Like I got the flu. I'm very, very sick. My throat hurts, I'm coughing out mucus, and I'm there because, like, hopefully they give me some medication. They lie to me and throw me in a mental hospital like I'm in a cage, in a padded fucking room. And then he's like, okay, after about 8 hours of being strained in there, he's like, all right, we're going to go. Hey, we're going to take you to a different room or some shit. And this motherfucker grabs my shit, and he literally just throws it all over the fucking floor in the middle of the street. All I have on me is a pair of boxers, and it's about 30 degrees outside, 30 to 35 degrees outside. I'm going to promise to God, I have a gown on, like the gurney gown on, and some boxers. Oh, and I think I had some socks, medical socks, the ones they give out at the hospital. This motherfucker just throws my shit all. I'm having to pick up clothes on the fucking floor. And this is a medical staff member. This is what this medical staff member does. And then there was no one around. This is the level of control of what these motherfuckers are doing. And just when I'm standing there, I take a few steps and I look over to the sidewalk. There's 2 police officers laughing at me and like, ah, you, oh, fuck, you mess with the fucking gays. The gays are fucking in power. I swear to God. I had no money. My cell phone, I think it was active. I think I spared because I always made sure I had some sort of phone connection. I had $10 in my pocket and I had to wait like 2-3 days. I'm having to walk from there downtown 3 hours down to the shores, down all these shores in the middle of the night in downtown with nothing to find a place to rest for the night. I mean, I'm like, here's another story. I'm in Los Angeles and I book a hotel room there. The second I get there, this guy starts fucking violently, vulgarly talking personally about my father, Raymond Palomo, and that I was only there to steal his money. I was there to manipulate him while he had dementia, and that wasn't the truth. They knew nothing about this, and the idea is to get whatever information they get and just turn it into bad and turn it against me, period. And I don't even know what to do, and I can tell when I first get there to this hostel, this hotel, the guy doesn't even fucking work there. Like, I know this guy didn't fucking work. He just showed up because they like just put people there and just like go after his ass and shit. And it was just unbelievable, some of the shit that I saw. And there's so many stories like that where, like, you know, I'm in Denver, Colorado, and someone tells me to go to their house and shit, you know, and I travel, you know, nearly 4 hours to go to like Golden Ridge or some shit near the mountains, you know, and they totally ditch me. When I get there, I'm like, oh, I'm looking for your number house, and it's a phone call that all of a sudden doesn't even work anymore, and it has no one on the other end. It's like it never existed, and I just got done talking to this person, having me travel 4 hours for nothing. It was a very one of the most horrible situations. Because when everyone got my GPS location and nothing but the gay community started targeting me, they would drive their cars. These people had no reason to be driving these areas. And you could tell I'm looking at them when they're driving by. They have no business other than take a shot at me. Roll down their window, throw some trash, honk, or they will be driving and they'll kind of swerve their car like they're going to hit me with their car. Just to scare the shit out of me. Just to let me know, we can hurt you. Remember, ha ha ha, no one's going to come to the rescue. You want to call the police? They'll throw you in a mental hospital. You'll suffer more. You got to understand that when you go into a mental hospital, you lose the ability to then call disability office or unemployment. You have to file for unemployment, call 3 times a week. You have to file for food stamps and make sure you file them within a timely manner, because then they'll cut your food stamp off and you are digging in a trash can. You know, I've had people pull fucking knives at me. I've had police officers pull guns on me. This is a true story. This happened when I was like, right before I got on disability. A police officer, when I was calling in for help, I was leaving the medical disability office in my office uniform, like my office clothes. And when I'm leaving, I call because there was cars that were circling around me like ballistically fucking crazy. And I call the police, and there was this fat, large, blonde-headed piece of shit is literally just looking at this guy, and I'm like, look, can you look at my? It's like, some of these people are following me, and they're fucking circling around me like fucking crazy. And he was like, who's shooting with electronic devices? And I look, I'll put my backpack down. And as soon as I grab my backpack to like set it down, he pulls out his fucking gun like this, and he's aiming it towards the floor, and he's just looking at me like I have a weapon or some shit. And I literally walk away from my backpack, and I throw everything out of my pocket. I'm like, look, I don't have any weapons. I'm calling you for help. I'm not here. I just left work just a second ago. I'm literally 100 yards away from my job site in the building. And the police officer there, the fat, blonde, fatted motherfucker, is like, he goes, you better listen to him or else you know what's going to happen. Like, he's telling me, we're going to kill you if we want to. We can get away with it. Everybody knows a police officer can kill anybody with a gun and get away with that shit. He may lose his badge at most, but it takes a lot to get rid of a police officer. And so then you start forming this idea that, you know, you can't call him for help. You can't not only call him for help. I've been through that process at least over 40 times, and from the age of like 30 to 35, where police officers would be driving by and they would find a reason to target me. And this is way after me getting 45 tickets fucking from the age of about 24 to 29 years old. Most of it was all from about 28 to 24 years old, 4-year period. I got 40 tickets. And they were just targeting me, taking away any money. It only got worse. But, you know, it was just unbelievable. And, like, I've sent my mother every little bit of money that I had. They're making me pass gas right now. I can tell them right now they're turning the wattage. Like, I'm in New York City. I shave my head after getting my hair braided. I send my mother the hair locks. They're fucking trashed. I don't even know what the fuck. My mother calls me, oh yeah, I got them, and I sent them. Yeah, I got them. Okay, I tell her to hold on to. I sent my mother gifts, not knowing that she was a triplet. Don't know whatever happened to them. I don't know what happened to the gifts. I still, to this day, I sent like a gift to my sister from my mother twin to hold on. I don't even know where the fuck it is. I sent one for Julian, one for Julian's twin. Don't know where the fuck they are. It's fucking just throwing my shit away. You know, with the little money I have $400. I'll spend $100 just to send or build a gift for my brother Julian, knowing that I don't even have a place to stay, and I have $300 to last me for the whole month. But I'm willing to spend the $100, like, to reach out, like, and nobody gave a shit. And my mother's twins are fucking disgustingly fucking nasty, and they know how they're insinuating, wishing me cancer and wishing me death, you know, wishing me suffering. You know, I go over there and sit down. This is just recently as well, like, you know, I go there and eat, and she'll grab shit like she's grabbing in a trash can and throw it on a fucking plate, like, eat you fucking pig. Eat your fucking worthless animal like the animal that you are. My mother would have never done anything like that. For any human being to do that to whether it's your relative or not, is one of the most disgusting type of behaviors that a human being can do to a person that is hungry and hasn't done anything wrong. And I can't tell you how many times I've gone to Jack in the Box and get some tacos and there's fucking hair in it. Or I pick up something and it looks like spit, like a loogie, like some woman and spit a fucking loogie in the fucking food. And I have no money. Like, I'm in Castle Rocks. I'm 34 years old. I'm like, what do you call it? Hitchhiking on like near the highway, and like I didn't have any pen or cardboard I was looking for. I was trying to look for a pen, and I was trying to look for a cardboard to like hitchhike to, because I had no money, and I had like $3 of tacos to last me one day until I got unemployment. In like 3 days, I had to go without food for like a couple of days. I had to go without food for a couple of days because, you know, I didn't have any money. And at that point, you don't even want to ask people for anything, because they have so much mental dominance control over my life. It's such a, like, you want this? I can control your fucking life. President Barack Obama. And they would say shit like that. Like, they would get the idea that since whatever was happening to me, they've already got the information they needed. Total dominance power. Now they're playing patriotic by doing this shit to me. Spitting, trash, throwing water on my chair, before I get there, because they always know where Hector's going to sit down, or he's going to sit in the corner, because all I'm ever focused is trying to get some peace. Sit down in a quiet place and maybe just enjoy a meal. Not enjoy, but just have calories, and then go about my business. Because even when you're eating your food, in any environment that you're in, where I'm in, it's to be placed as a target. So if I'm eating in a place where somebody can walk by me and I'm like, bite on my taco like this, some faggot will walk right by me as I'm doing this to my food, and then do this, be like, and do that shit. And I back off like, motherfucker, like, and I don't even know who this fucking person is. Remember, I can't call the police. Remember, you fight, I'm gonna beat your fucking ass, because we're decaying your fucking life right there. You can't work out. You don't want to get violent. It's unbelievable. It's hard to describe, because how many people really don't believe in God? Like, they pass through this fucking life. Like, it's best to just leave the person alone. Like, leave them alone. At least they can enjoy the trees or whatever it is, because life sucks as it is. That you don't have to have that much bad from another person. No, they would make sure that they have to give an expression facially, facial expressions, whatever it was, to your trash. I feel good when I hurt you. I feel good, more better, the more damage. I am a better person. No God exists, and when you're in those circumstances, you really try to get a belief of God, and you start to look at, you're looking at your, phone, and you see all the suffering that goes on in the world. You watch people in India fucking laying in a fucking ditch, and they're like 60 fucking years old, and it looks like their legs need to be amputated because they're like blotchy fucking dark purple from the blood just clotting, and disfigured with like rotted feet and shit, and they're sleeping, in a trash-filled area where the fucking cows are treating more luxury, shitting and pissing right next to them. Like, what the fuck? And I watch a fucking Porsche drive by, SUV. I'd watch a fucking, Cadillac just, and some guy was sticking up his fucking nose with this fucking transgender motherfucker, and it was, unbelievable. It was very unbelievable to see something like that, because to experience that, I never knew that. I think a lot of people that could end up homeless, many of them can rehabilitate their lives really well. Many can, and rebuild, go to school, get college degrees, all kinds of stuff. But you just have to find the inspiration and hope. When you have 1,000 people attacking you, and what was happening to me, you're not going to be able to do anything. You won't have the time to think other than just try to survive, because there's so much shit that's going on that you can't focus on anything else. You don't understand that. How many times I'm calling the food stamp office, and I have to call them 7 or 8 times, because the first person, operator, is fucking acting very haggling and threatening toward me. I hang up the phone to try to call another operator. It's the same operator that picks up the phone every call. So I call the next day, and then they tell me all of a sudden they need some information faxed to them. And then I had to go on a bus 3 miles down the fucking road, or 3 hours to another city, just to get the paper, fax it to them. And then I call them again. I have to, speak to them, and they give me all kinds of worthless haggling shit to waste and burn your fucking life away. And they're getting paid for this shit over the fucking phone. So not only they're letting me know that they have all my information, but they're torturing me in the little resources that I'm actually getting from the government. Like when I get food stamps. And when they give me food stamps, they'll give me $23. They'll give me $21. There were some few times they gave me a significant amount of money. I got like $150, which is really good. $230, which is outstanding. But it was never almost in any of those cities. Being in, I remember like a guy leaning over me, and I wake up, it's 3 o'clock in the fucking morning, and I have like a half-eaten box of pizza next to me, and it's snowing. It's about 7 degrees outside, 4 degrees, and I just kind of crack open my eyes, and this guy's just looking over, and he looks like he has a fucking knife in his fucking hand with like chains and shit on his pocket. And I immediately get up, and I thought this guy was gonna fucking like wanted to kill me or just rob me or some shit. And this guy looked crazy. I mean, he looked fucking crazy. He's just like, and he's like fucking in his late 40s, fat. Lord, it looked like he's like a scavenger, like a vulture, white guy. I have no idea. No idea what that's like. You can't call the police. The police department and the court system is all designed to keep you in a cage as long as they can and to make your life as worthless as possible only for their paycheck. That's it. It is better to dig in a trash can for food than to ever go into that jail cell, because at least you can enjoy the grass and trees, and you can enjoy just looking at the sky, and you can run away. But you can't do that in an environment where they tell you what religion, who God is, who Jesus is. They can't tell you that. And the police officers all correlate this behavior. And they know what they synchronize. Like I'm telling you, the same way it is right now when I go to a grocery store and you watch the homosexuals and transgenders, they synchronize with one another too, like hyenas. You know, have you ever seen hyenas when they attack a lion? The hyenas, they work in packs, and one will attack from one area and then the other one will attack, and then they know that the lion will back off and run from a distance, and then the hyenas are already waiting, half a mile down the field. Exactly like that. You could see how they look at each other like, like our secret, like how they have a special homosexual transgender unity between them that's like the secret code, like them. And I don't know any of them. This is what the police officers would do, like, and they would try to flex their guns. They would flex their power, homosexual power, by that uniform. It had nothing to do with like, wait a minute, maybe this guy is being beaten the fuck out of, and he has no reason. And no, they didn't care. They felt sorry for the fucking faggot that did that shit to me. The thing about calling the police too, if I'm in a park and somebody does that to me, and I call the police, you know what the police tells me after the discussion is over, which happened at least over 20 times? You gotta leave here. You can't sleep here. You gotta go somewhere else. You can't be here. And it took me 3 days to find that little place for me to be able to sleep for the night, or for a couple of days. And I'll have to change every geography, location, parks, alleys, to try not to get caught by the police or someone reporting me that there's a homeless person sleeping there, just so that I can get rest. And they would do that. And there were so many endless stories that I can never explain to you. Like being in Juneau, Alaska, and I was there for about a week on an island, and I was sleeping. I was kind of sleeping toward the shores, and I was kind of hoping to maybe come across like an orca, like killer whales, the orcas. And the orcas are known to swim in that area. You know, I thought I was gonna get like a Free Willy moment. And I was sleeping near this like shop that was closed down on the banks, and you can hear the water just slashing, and it's freezing temperatures, and I'm coiled up. And at that time, I didn't have like the good coats that you could buy like I have now. I had like the Walmart shit, you know, like where it's just cotton, where it gets moist and it doesn't retain the heat in very well. And I'm just freezing cold, like, and I can't stop cold, and I'm just waiting for the morning to show up to hopefully gets a little bit of sunlight to then warm up a little bit. I wake up and it's like, 6:30 in the morning. Walk around, come back to the area. It's like 8 o'clock, and I'm by myself. And I look over and I can see like where all the bars are. I can see the waiters, the transgenders, fucking acting crazy. Like, and there's no black hair people. There's no people there that have black hair, and they don't see Mexican people there. So they know you're an outcast once you get there, and they don't want you there. Like, you could tell you're not welcome there. Like, they're very territorial, like the Ku Klux Klan. If it's very white territorial, they won't want you there. Like they claim their territory, and I won't be doing anything. I won't be harming them or anything. And I'll go there and I'll maybe go in there and ask for like a basket of French fries, and this transgender's just like acting fucking crazy. Like I'm gonna got a knife. I'm gonna fuck you up. Like I get nervous and scared. Like who the fuck is telling you this shit? Like who the fuck is? And they just like they have a stage of performance that has now been handed to them when they see me. Then I'm the punching bag. And if you think it's hard to call police officers in other areas, imagine what it is in those types of areas, outside areas. I get up, take a flight out of there. I go to Ketchikan. I think it was Ketchikan where this happened. Yeah, this is Ketchikan where it happened. And it's just unbelievable when you get to these places. And the first thing that everyone I ever came across was the homosexual, like the whole homophobia that these people were gay, and so they know that when I ever come in contact with them, they think that I'm always trying to look to see if they're gay or not. Like they have a special gay look, because I was also very used to that, because that's the way that they behave. They didn't just say like, oh, I'm a human being, like they would look at, oh, I'm gay, like and I wouldn't say one word. I just kind of look at them like, oh, like, and they would behave that way. I get to when I first get to Ketchikan, there's another story. I get to Ketchikan and I get to this port. I'm like chain smoking cigarettes and shit. I had no money, no unemployment, no nothing. And I get to this location, and you have to take a boat, to the shore. And it's like a 10-minute drive all across this sort of creek ocean, it's ocean port. And when I get to there, it's some fat, larded, fucking transgender that is giving me the evil eye. And when I say evil eye, that's how you're starting off. Going to a place you have no idea. And that person probably lives in the area, and they have very good contacts and very good relationships between all the people that work there. So I'm going into fucking danger and shit. And people would sick their dogs on me. Here's another story. I'm at a hotel near Six Flags Park. I walk out of a hotel. There's a guy with a pit bull. I swear to God, there's a guy with a pit bull. Gets his pit bull, and he fucking leashes his dog on me. He has his dog, and I turn around the corner, and I have no idea this is about to happen. As soon as I turn the corner, he goes like this, and he kind of goes like this, like he releases his dog, and his pit bull jumps and bites my arm. It just starts throwing my ass fucking around. And I can't even call the fucking police. I get scared, and I'm like, and it's some black guy that does it. And I'm terrified because of the circumstances. And I go to the Motel 6 front desk window, and the motherfucker there is some Arabian piece of shit who is like, yeah, just go after him, just fuck him, and there's no friendly anything. There's no understanding. It's just dispose of you, dispose of my life, go about your business. That's the mindset. That's the mindset frame of everything that goes off. But it's unbelievable how many pictures that I've taken. I don't know if anybody ever saved the pictures, but I had pictures that were from my bone marrow transplant that I had put on Facebook. All kinds of shit, videotapes, and I had some of them saved. I deleted all that shit. Priceless pictures, and I don't know if they ever got saved. I don't know anybody. I don't ever think they did. Gone forever. And it wasn't in a rage of anger. I was trying to move forward because you're going. And this is when I'm 28 years old after being raped by a transgender, Patricia Cadena, and them using these electronic devices at me. And I end up, they put you through such a incarcerated mental state that you don't really believe that the life that you had in your past doesn't really matter anymore, and that you've tried to find ways to move forward. At least I did. And you wouldn't really have done any of those, delete your pictures, delete your videos, but I had to do it because I felt, okay, these people are telling me to throw these transplant pictures that I had that was such a unbelievable, painful, life-changing experience. Because if I don't delete them, then the people that are watching the IT department and the people that are spying on me, if I don't delete them, the IT department will contact them or tell the people to make me delete them, and it's to prevent people from attacking me or prevent them so I can please them, so that maybe it'll cause some peace. So basically, I'm racing my own life, getting me to do it, and it's really, I would have never ever done it. It's because of the shit and threats that I was getting. Now I go to Wingstop and get something to eat. The fucking cash register is letting me know, like, okay, spit in his food, throw some chlorine in it. I mean, it was constantly like that. It was just, I could probably count maybe over 20 hours, over about 20 times where I had eaten food and I got horrifically sick and didn't know what I know, because I took care of my health very well. I always know, I try to watch out for bacteria and all this other shit to try to maintain for the next day. You never think about dreams. You don't ever think about goals. You think about, okay, I gotta survive for another day. I gotta survive for this and that. I gotta do this and that. See, as I'm talking to you right now, they're shooting at me, just toying with me. This is exactly what they would do to me whenever I would be homeless. Like, they just, okay, shoot him right there. Now shoot him right there. Okay, now shoot him right there. Shoot him right there. Now shoot him right there again. Okay, now this time, just so he gets a stabbing feeling right underneath his sideburns. Okay, now shoot his crotch right between his penis and testicles, like they're just doing now. I mean, they would do this shit to me while I'm at a fucking park. I'm not kidding. Like, I just felt them now shoot my liver, and it's a temperament. It's not a temperament, but like a twitch. So I would go, I hardly ever drank. Every once in a while I would get like a 40, or I would get like I never really drank 40s because that was a lot of beer, but I'd get like a couple beers, maybe a 6-pack, a few times in a park alone, just to drink some beer and chill for a while and relax. It was such a hard terrain, in Alaska, because you got these mosquitoes that were just, I mean, unbelievable. And the worst experience I ever experienced with mosquitoes was here in Carrollton. True story. This is where I have so many stories, but this is the last story I'll say. And I was exactly about 1 mile, half a mile from where I grew up, where my sister died, my dad had his house and money stolen, horrific rapes that happened to my brother, me, thrown out like trash the minute he's dead, with nothing but pennies, and a beggar, and I was a beggar. I had to be, right? When I was very young. But I'm 34, 35 years old, and I'm sleeping at Josie Ranch Park on Trinity Mills, okay? On Trinity Mills. I used to go to this park as a kid all the time. I used to go to this park all the time riding my bike all the time in the middle of the night by myself. I used to ride my bike in the middle of the night, just cruising the streets on a, like a power light, I had always got some really cool, BMX bikes, and with gyros and whatnot. And going to these parks with my dad, my mom. I played practice soccer, even a few games there. I lived at this park all the time as a kid, with friends. And I'm 34 years old, sleeping in the fucking bathroom. It's about 85 degrees at the middle of the night, which is really fucking hot. 85, 90 degrees. There is giant fucking spiders jumping on the fucking floor. I'm sleeping next to a fucking toilet with no fucking money, waiting to fucking do my job assignment in like the next few days for a couple of hours to have some kind of food. And there is fucking a flurry of mosquitoes. There's so many mosquitoes that I'm being bitten all over my body, and I keep hitting the fucking wall to kill as many as I can, because I'm thinking that maybe I can at least kill at least 25 of these fucking mosquitoes and at least have some kind of mosquito repellent away from me. And all it's doing, there's blood all over the fucking walls. I'm not kidding you, this is in Carrollton where I grew up. Sleeping next to a toilet. And there's fucking blood splats all over the fucking place. Have no money, and I have my entire body. I have to have, I put long sleeve shirts on to prevent the mosquitoes biting from me. So then I put another coat on because they actually will go right through my clothes sometimes. So I put another layer to help prevent them from sticking the needle into me. And then, because then you're itching and you have these bumps all over your body. I'm being bitten all over my face, my body, my fucking body. I see roaches, fucking giant roaches crawling all around me and shit. And you don't understand, I can't even find a place to fucking, and in those environments, it's a little bit better than some of the places, because if I get spotted from the police, then I have to get up, I have to walk 3 hours in the middle of the fucking night with no energy and no food. And I have activities I have to do the next day to try to survive. Food stamp office, apply for jobs, have to go to the library, have to fax some paperwork by a certain time. You don't understand how staggering this is. And all this is just burning my life away. This is all it's doing. But I'm there covered in 85 degrees in winter clothes to try to protect my body from being bitten and try to just rest and just let my body rest and get tired. Because I'm so tired, and I'm only getting 5 hours of sleep every night. I'm not getting very good sleep at all. I haven't been able to shower. I have to worry about every morning. I have to worry who's going to spit in my food, who's going to throw the food on, who's going to give me spoiled food out of a trash can, who's going to do something to the food just to fucking fuck with me mentally. It may not be trash. What they'll do is I'll get a biscuit and they'll intentionally cut a little piece off as I open my biscuit sandwich. It costs $2 and it looks like a dick in the shape of a fucking dick. And it's I have my patty and I pick it up and I notice there's an extra piece of meat. I know that wasn't a fucking accident. And it's shit like this that they continue doing. And then it's 6 o'clock in the morning, and just to even go to that restaurant with no money, it took me 45 minutes walking with a 20-pound backpack after being bit by mosquitoes all fucking for the last 7 or 8 fucking days that I've been sleeping there. And then after the 7 or 8 days, or 2 weeks that I was there, 3 weeks is a true story, I was there for about 3 weeks. Finally, someone reports me and tells me to get the fuck out, or we're going to arrest you. Doesn't say anything. He goes, "Who the fuck are you?" And he didn't say who the fuck. The police officer looks at me and he goes, "Who are you? Huh?" And he starts laughing. Look at you, you worthless piece of life. Police officer credit here. It's exactly what they did. And I have to get up and I can't show up there again. I can't tell you how many times they'll have bars in the bathrooms at the parks where you can't get in. And you physically have to have an astonishing amount of fucking physical athleticism to jump over that fence because there's nothing you can climb on. I'm telling you, like, you have to have rock climbing skills. There's not any really place that you can put your feet and fingers. You have to just power everything, grabbing the fucking bars and pick up in your own weight and throw your backpack on the edge. And you're talking the bars are as tall as this ceiling right here. They're taller than a fucking door. And you're trying to jump into the bathroom, but I know that in that bathroom I'm safe. And it's basically like a jail cell. So then at least I can get all the rest I need. They're not shooting me with electronic devices, and I feel my own sense of existence without, I'm going to control you, and I'm going to beat you, and I'm going to control you, and I'm going to beat you. And I knew then that they were, without a doubt, because they didn't have time to set up the electronic devices, and I wasn't exactly sure how the frequency devices work, whether they shoot through the walls, whether they have the ability to bounce off walls, or they could, where they had to place them in order to shoot them at me. And see, as I'm grabbing myself right here, as I'm making this video, they're shooting me, and they'll shoot it, and they'll feel a twitch. But it's unbelievable, you know. You'll see rats, you know, fucking rats running around. It never stopped. It's one thing from not being able to control your environment because you don't have money, but it was another thing because whoever was doing this to me was intentionally sending people to make the environment very disgusting and nasty and as drenching and as hard as they fucking could. Really fucking bad. You know, when I was in Seattle, Washington, rats would come over where I was laying on the fucking ground to see if I was dead. So they could, because rats eat dead bodies. For those that don't know or ever knew, rats will eat decaying dogs, fucking cats, and squirrels. They'll eat the fucking dead bodies if they can't find food. They'll eat human beings as well. And, you know, I'll be sleeping and there'll be rats crawling around me, you know, and shit, not being able to do very much, thinking these fucking critters are waiting me to fucking drop dead. You know, looking and smelling me to see if I'm deceased, you know, if they can eat me. I get up in the morning, I mean, it's just unbelievable, some of the experiences of hate. The racism was just, it was at such an all-time high when you experience that in life. It was such a, you know, you look at the eyes of these people that don't believe in anything. You don't believe in any, I don't care what God you believe in. Okay, I'm not going to say if you don't believe in Jesus, but, or God, you know, whatever Jesus or whatever church you go to, no, they don't believe in any, whatever God you believe in, you didn't believe in anything, because you're getting up at fucking 6 in the morning just to walk your dog next to me to fucking start barking and growling toward me when I have nothing. Spit, throw water, trash, start laughing, start saying personal things about me and tragedies. It was just unbelievable to experience that, and you experience it alone. And so when you think you're going to get counseling services, like when I was fucking trying to call a crisis line all the time and I'm speaking to them in the fucking bathroom, they start haggling me, saying disgusting shit to me over the phone while you're going through that. It's you find a lot of people that don't believe in God, and you come across a lot of people that just, they don't believe in anything. I don't know what the fuck they believe in. Nobody that believes in any kind of God, existence of a higher power, does this volume of shit. No, you just don't. You believe they don't, and they're not scared to die. They set their stones in their ways on suicide. They're gonna ride it all the way down the rabbit hole. Don't care. Don't. And when I say don't care, you, as a person that believes in a higher power, likes to believe in a higher power, even if one doesn't exist, I always have faith that one does. That you get a lot of that toxic shit. You soak in a lot of the toxic shit because that's where they want to put you. And you'll see them get into their brand new fucking car and just put their fucking dog that just shitted right within 20 feet from your head, sit their dog in the passenger seat, all comfortable, and, tidy up his little collar, and his little fucking poodle shit, and drive off in enjoyment. Like, you can see that, like, like, and they only went there to do that to me. And it'll be 3 or 4 of them that did that shit. 2 cars a day, then maybe another one next day. I get lucky if someone didn't bother me. I came across a couple of people and told me, and I said, "Do you go to church?" And sometimes you would come across people that maybe they didn't get a chance to really kind of spy on me or whatever, didn't know who I was or where I came from, and they would tell me, none of them believe in God. None of them do. They go to church and they don't give a shit. They go to church and they don't believe in God and they don't care. Many of them don't. And I thought it was important to talk about this. You never get that ending. You see how disgusting that fucking was, and how disposable your fucking life was, and they did ultimately dispose of it. I wasn't allowed to work out. I go to the gym. Somebody would try to fight me. Somebody start throwing weights on the fucking ground intentionally. They were looking for fights. They were looking for trouble. They were looking to run me out of there. And keep in mind that I have, like, my leg that hurts, because I have a bone marrow biopsy, and I lost the ability to run when I was 24 years old. I've never been able to run ever again. I've never been able to run again since the age of 24 years old. 24 years old, I've never been able to run again, ever. And no stretches, exercises, nothing worked. And I couldn't run more than maybe half a track and field. Because I used to go jogging. I could maybe run half of that, and as soon as I did that, then I'd be in extreme pain. So I lost the ability. So I could only walk. You get infections. You scrape yourself, and you start getting scars from the concrete. You can't wash your face. When you go to the showers, you have to be really fast and hurry up because people are bothering you, knocking on the door, trying to harass you. I mean, it's constantly, unbelievable how worthless your life really is to people. But not everybody's like that. Not everybody's like that. Unfortunately, the bad weighs out the good. There are more bad people that are very parasitical like that than people that are willing to engage and do something good. Then there's the ones that just kind of, really don't want very much to do with you. They just go about their business. But it is, for someone to go out of their way to do that at such a high number and do it with such intelligence to mentally derange you, becomes very difficult to keep a steady mind. So you only then start to search for, a nice peaceful park to, eat your sandwich that has been rotting in your fucking backpack for a day because you got it in the fucking middle of the night. So you have something to drink and something to eat in the morning and get to see the sunrise. You get to look at the trees and the woods, enjoy the weather a little bit and the existence of life that you have just for maybe an hour or so and smoke a cigarette, And before then they set up electronic devices, and I don't know how far, but they can shoot me from a very far distance. So then I start scoping out the area like a terrain, like it's some war field, where then they start they'll park their cars, and then all of a sudden I start feeling twitches in my muscle, or they start shooting me all of a sudden. And I know that it's because something that's hiding, their weapon they're hiding is being placed in that environment. And then they start blasting me. So I maybe get to spend 30 minutes in some sort of peace, if any of that. Every time I go to a place, the entire perimeter is scoped out where they can place the gun and weapon to shoot me with, the electronic device. Send people, and that's not even to think about the roaches, the fucking snakes, the fucking bugs that crawl between your fucking legs and your pants and shit. You're in the middle of the night, you have to like grab your fucking like clothes real quick because you feel a fucking giant roach that's fucking climbing up your fucking leg. And I, at the very beginning, you have to have, your ankles sort of very tight with something that can prevent any critters from crawling up your pants, and you figure out all these different methods to try to keep yourself intact. And you're just living like that. You don't get to think about going to school. You don't get to think about having a job. And I'm applying at jobs every single day. Nobody will hire me. When they hire me, they fire me. When I get there, they run me off. When I get there, they start bullying me. They start threatening me. People constantly tell me they were going to murder me. They were going to get me killed. It says, we're waiting for you to die. We want you to die. Like, people would say that shit to me. Like, wish me death constantly. And it's so much that I just mostly remember. Very little of it, that I get to sit down for, in Alaska or Denver or any of these places and just watch the sun rise and take a look at the city at a nice cool 65 degrees, 7 o'clock in the morning, 5:30 in the morning, just very little of that. Sometimes you came across some Mexican colored people, and I'd kind of connect with them in the sense, like this guy came in once, he's probably not even alive anymore, this Mexican guy, and he looked kind of like me, but with like all white beard. He was really old. He was a Mexican guy, could speak English, and I was at a Denny's, or it wasn't a Denny's, it was a cafe, had no money. I was hoping not to kick me out. The waiter was nice enough to give me like a lemon, some free tea, and like a piece of bread. And the guy sat away, and there was nobody there. He just showed up, which I'm pretty sure he knew where I was. But he just looked at me, he goes, yeah, I know how it goes and what they did, or he'd say something like that, but he said it in the sense like, yeah, I know what he goes, I know how it is and what they did. They got us. You know how it is in this world, how they do us. And, it ain't no free ride for us. And who's really running the show? And we're at the bottom of that list. But anyway, I thought I'll make another video. I got thousands of stories of homeless experiences, and I'll just share them. How worthless your life can be thrown for somebody else's use, for firewood. And that's it. Like, if you think you've ever gone through hardship, you live in an expensive house, if you think you've gone through hardship, you live in a fucking fancy car, you have no earthly idea the degree that when you have nothing and you have people that are accessible to help you and they don't, and the majority of that is to punish you mentally at that extreme levels, and you have no outlet, you don't have any money, and even the resources you're going to, the churches or the shelters, are so horrific. The best of peace may be digging in a fucking trash can at a fucking empty park far away. The existence of just being alive and in peace, because there's no peace that you get at all. Like, it's hard to explain the details. I know it's awful, it's more awful than it sounds, but like, you goes into those environments, it's like, because I have all the thoughts, especially when I was younger, you know, of being violent, you know, at one of these, like snapping on one of these motherfuckers and then end up in prison for the rest of my life because I don't want them to, I want them to feel the pain that they put onto me that there was no justice for. And that does nothing, you know. I quickly just, you know, not try to think something positive, but it crossed my mind a few times. You get pissed off because nobody's doing anything. Life doesn't even fucking matter to these pigs because it's the police. You got to keep in mind, the police officers always instigate as well, along with the people that are doing this, is rape. You don't understand. I've been in jail in my 20s, all for jail sitting tickets. That's all. The confinement of jail is very misunderstood by the regular human being because you think religion and all this other stuff in God exists there, and you love the process, and you're with the homies, and you're all with the gays, and it's just no. This world is so horrific beyond anything that you can imagine how monstrous it is, that it's just better to stay out of that. Do everything you can to stay away from that. Police officers do not become police officers to keep the peace. They're just there because they want to be the first one to stay alive. They're not there to honor the good and humanity. They're there because you want to play pig shit face for what team member you want to see win. And it's a war even between in that group of people, and which is very scarce. You know, I've seen police officers go at it toward one another before, and but it's tears and emotions that dissipate when you're also there, just like in jail. You know, they disappear. You know, you think you create whatever little memory I try to create, very little of it do I actually remember anymore. When I'm listening to a song, you know, or when I'm having to walk 2 hours just to get to a breakfast diner, man. And you think of all the equipment and shit, and the car, and what they did to me, and the amount of money that they took from me, and it was just unbelievable. It's hard to express because you lose your youth. You'll never have your youth again. They take your youth, you'll be old for the rest of your life. You'll be an old, worthless shit. Whatever it is that you're just going to keep loving and giving to the world because maybe you found God, that's nice, but they fucking took your life. They took your youth. And you'll never get that again. I know I was going to finish this story, but, and I was a cancer patient that lost all my hair. I weighed 128 pounds at the age of 19 years old, nearly dying. I was 23 when I had my bone marrow transplant. I had chemotherapy and most toxic poisons put in me to try to keep me alive. Dying multiple times in hospital. Little did I know that was going to be my existence of fucking remembrance of my youth before they killed me for what they did to me. Because they always have the ability to change your brain the way that they want. Your life never had purpose. It only had purpose because you thought you had purpose, and it should be that way. And it does that way. Not because some piece of shit says, you need to go be a DJ now, and we're going to train you. And they'll train you. They'll fix you need to be homosexual. It's just, maybe he fucked a transgender, maybe he wants another one. You see, they take you into this. You see a lot of evil. But more important is even if things were really bad, I believed in God. It may not have been the same God that was with a crucifix with a Mercedes, or the crucifix where they were spitting or doing some shit, having their dog shit next to my head where I'm sleeping at night. But I believe in God. Could be wrong. Maybe there's nothing, which would make them win by default. Yeah, for all the scumbags and worthless life that there was out there that did shit, yeah, and they did, and there was nothing. there was and it didn't matter. I hope it matters, that there's some sort of justice and existence of an afterlife. I believe so, because I'm scared of it.